Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Here is a collection of different NDE stories. I hope these stories can give you some inspiration or hope. Let's start today's story.
My near-death experience happened at the age of 25. I went out to work without graduating from college, because I was really bad at studying, and my parents respected my own choice, and then I went to an electric company as an apprentice. We are mainly engaged in line maintenance work, and the company has contracts with factories in many regions. One day, my colleagues and I were called to the wood processing factory. Their cutting machine stopped working inexplicably. It was suspected that it was a problem with the circuit. We passed the investigation. The main reason was the aging of the wire. Replacing the wires, the boss was a little reluctant at first because of the cost, but for the sake of efficiency and safety, the boss took our advice and I started to rewire under the boss's supervision. Things were going well when I suddenly felt a strong current that shouldn't have been there because the mains had been turned off. I twitched all over and couldn't control my body. My colleagues saw it and separated my hand from the wire with a wooden stick. My consciousness became blurred. The boss immediately called an ambulance. When the paramedics arrived, they told me that I was suffering from an arrhythmia. I was supposed to go to the hospital. I got into the ambulance and went to the hospital. At the hospital, the ER doctor put me on a heart monitor and the nurses checked my vitals every hour, and I lay there and couldn't do anything, thinking it was a waste of my time, and I was right. I am very confident in my health. I usually like to play basketball. After a few hours, the doctor told me that I needed to stay until the next day, and an expert would talk to me tomorrow morning. I tried to protest and wanted to go home, but the doctor on duty just wouldn't agree. After thinking about it later, I was considered a work-related injury. I had nothing to do with the hospital and still got my salary, so I agreed. Anyway, I will be discharged from the hospital tomorrow morning. But this is not the case. I slept for an unknown amount of time, and when I opened my eyes, hovering over my body, there was a sound in the room. I glanced to see a flat line on the heart monitor screen and watched as doctors and nurses rushed into my room. Rescue me, I just remember thinking, no way. I didn't want to be brought back when I was hovering over my body. Because it feels very narrow and small in the body. I glanced around the room and saw a tunnel appearing. Although the entrance of the tunnel looked dark, I didn't feel scared at all. Instead, there was an inexplicable attraction, and I started walking towards it. The feeling of walking into the tunnel is beyond words, like stepping into a warm and comfortable hug that propels you towards the ultimate feeling of love. It took me high off the ground, and when I thought it wouldn't go on, it did. I got out of the atmosphere and into the furthest space. I'm not sure, but I believe I may have left the galaxy. I soon found myself in the deepest part of the universe, where there was a very bright light. By adjusting my perspective, I was able to see the entire universe, and for the first time I realized that it was alive and everything was connected to the source. Every molecule, every atom has its own unique purpose, which is part of a great design, and removing any one of them will make everything change. Looking at the universe from this perspective really makes you realize how small we humans are, and at the same time, we are as important as the biggest stars in the universe. Looking back at the light, I know this is where the love I feel comes from. It communicates with me through my mind. It told me that I would go back to continue my life on Earth, and at the time I wanted to ask why I would love to stay here. It explained that although I am insignificant in the universe, my role is important because it affects the people around me, and they in turn affect the people around them. Everyone has their own mission and mission. I said I understood. And I was back in my body in an instant. That tiny, imprisoned body. Later, I stayed in the hospital for another week, and finally the company gave me compensation. Although money is also very important to me, it is not worth mentioning for this experience. I look back now, the light I saw, I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it was God, maybe it was an angel, maybe it was something else.